Depression. Not exactly anyone's favorite topic of conversation. It might even make you a little bit uncomfortable to hear the word, or to think about the associated imagery, stigmas, and perceptions. It's not an easy, nor frequently discussed issue, but that is exactly why it is so important to talk about. Depression is relevant to the lives of all people, and specifically college students. College students represent one of the #1 affected groups by depression.
For example, untreated depression is the #1 cause of suicide in college students, and suicide is the second leading cause of death in such students. According to the American College Health Association, more than 30% of students have said they felt so depressed it was difficult to function, and nearly 40% of students said they felt things were hopeless. On a more dramatic scale, 44% of students reported symptoms of depression, but 75% of such students do not seek mental health support.
These statistics are shocking and justifiably upsetting. But for me, what is more upsetting and damaging is our societal relationship with depression. Nearly 1 in 5 adults in the US, or 43.8 million people, deal with mental illness. And depression, well, it's the leading cause of disabilities worldwide. So why do we continue to ignore the experience of mental illness and depression in our world? The simple answer is that it's easier. Instead of addressing the prevalence of mental illness, we choose to ignore the truth and continue to stigmatize and isolate those with the greatest need. I have depression. I have dealt with clinical depression since I was 15 years old. For a long time, saying those words and acknowledging my reality was impossible for me. I was terrified of being associated with my idea of depression, of weak-minded, selfish people who disassociated themselves from their lives. And I struggled with my perception of depression as a mental health issue, but not as a real illness. In my readiness to ignore my reality, I chose to pretend that I was fine. I was able to convince the people around me and myself that my depression did not affect me and could be controlled. But this, of course, was a lie. My depression did not lay dormant, and the depressive episodes to follow made it clear that my illness was something I needed to address. I am incredibly blessed to have a beautifully loving and supportive family that helped me to seek treatment and to deal with my depression. But I continued to struggle with my idea of someone with depression, that the stereotypes of society had taught me, and my idea and impression of myself. I'm not really someone that appears to have depression. I am a social and outgoing person, generally happy and pretty goofy, with an enthusiasm for life. I have a large group of friends whom I love to spend time with. I'm involved in my on-campus organizations, and I'm engaged in exciting research in my field that I'm incredibly passionate about. None of these descriptors align with the common health stereotypes of a person with depression, but this serves to illustrate the truth that anyone can be affected by mental illness and depression. And there are no parameters or characteristics that define someone who suffers from depression. This is why it's so important that we have an open and honest dialogue regarding mental health. It is necessary that we remove the stereotypes and the stigmas of depression and create transparency around the issue of mental illness. That being said, depression can be truly debilitating in a way that can frequently not be put into words. It can affect your ability to accomplish tasks, to maintain your relationships, and to simply make it through daily life. And generally, the discussion of depression is centered on the weaknesses and negatives. We focus the dialogue on what is lost as a result of depression instead of what can be gained. But what about the idea of benefits of depression? The ideas of benefits of depression may sound unlikely, but approaching this disease from a strength-based perspective has been a complete game changer for me. The reality is that my depression is a part of me and always will be. A strength-based approach has helped me to make some self-realizations about my abilities and strengths that may be a result of depression. And my depression is not solely a weakness or a challenge to my way of being. It is a critical dimension of my way of being. A strength-based perspective suggests that depression is a natural and beneficial adaptation to addressing certain problems. There are 3 main benefits of depression that I want to talk about and that I have witnessed and viewed as advantageous in my life and in the lives of others. The first benefit I would like to discuss is the ability to process information more deeply. Those with depression tend to engage in deep analytical rumination, which is when people solely focus on one issue to the exclusion of all else, seeking a solution. This is a productive advantage of depression that allows for deep focus in difficult situations. The second benefit I would like to discuss is creativity. Creativity can be sparked by the experience of depressive individuals. Emotional turmoil of depression can result in greater creativity and the need for artistic expression. This is something I've experienced in my own life during one of my first depressive episodes. In high school, I became incredibly invested in darkroom film photography and spent all of my time shooting and printing photos in the darkroom. And not only was this a space for me to express some of the emotional turmoil I was suffering, but it also allowed for my pain to be fostered into something positive in my art. And I had a way to express myself that I couldn't in words. And many of our world's greatest artists were depressives, such as Van Gogh, Hemingway, and Path. The third benefit of depression that I would like to discuss, and I found the most relevant in my life, is the ability to see and appreciate all the things that life has to offer. This has been the most influential to my life and to my personal progression. When an individual lives in a depressive mindset, you tend to learn that everything in life carries some value and has intrinsic beauty. To quote German philosopher Meiser Eckhart, "Truly, it is in the darkness that one finds the light, so that when we are in sorrow, then this light is nearest to us all." This has been the greatest lesson of my depression. Through the ups and downs, I have learned so much about myself and my ability to persevere. For a long time, I could only look at my depression as a flaw, a weakness that made me a victim to my own emotions. But on my journey, I have found that my greatest strengths are the result of my most prominent flaw. My depression has helped me to be ever aware of the positives and beauty that life has to offer. I hope that others with depression are able to witness the positive benefits of this illness in their lives. And I seek to change the dialogue on depression to reflect the advantageous dimensions, and so that we as a society can better support those individuals in the greatest need.